Alright, well, go cut that off for me. Okay, let me hold the tablet. Go ahead. Hurry up. Alright, let's see. Let's see what's going on in this energy. I hope you are having an amazing grand rising. Alright, so let's see. The first cards that popped out was home and land. Alright, so there's somebody's finding out something when it comes to home and land. Alright, courthouse and candle magic. Alright, somebody could have been doing some sort of candle magic when it comes to a court situation. Somebody stole something from you. Alright, so somebody tried to steal some sort of land and home away from you. Alright, West is here. Something could be happening out west. Hidden pregnancy. Somebody could be hiding some sort of pregnancy. Mason is here. Wild child. Alright, so moving into a new home or land. Alright, so you could be getting something back that somebody stole from you. Alright, somebody did something they thought they was going to keep something away from you. A baby father is significant. Alright, super power up. Something's getting ready to elevate for somebody. Alright, so there's some sort of storm that's getting ready to happen. Alright, super mad. Somebody's super mad because you're super powering up. Something's getting ready to happen to go in your favor. Alright, and somebody is mad, alright, because somebody didn't want this personal growth. Alright, flying there. Somebody could be flying towards you. Alright. A Mason could be significant, could have been behind, trying to steal this land and property from you. I'm sorry, a land and home. All right, a baby father is here. So a baby father was in on stealing. What's going on, love bug? Hey, Cherise. I ain't been asleep all night. All right, a baby father has something to do with a home and land. All right, this shit keep coming out about this baby father. Somebody finding out about a baby father. All right, an ex-husband could be significant. Somebody is begging to make something right. All right, working together. Somebody is working together to do something. Daytime. Girl, why the fuck I done talked to I done did a reading for I don't know how many folks and they didn't receive or they either receive or get in the car. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Spirit, where is me? Oh, all right, love, I got you. I'm like, where the fuck is me? Where the hell am I at? But I keep going. All right, something about a sister-in-law. All right, there's a sister-in-law popping pills. This shit keep coming out. All right, about this sister-in-law. All right, this person could be a nurse, LPN or CPN or whatever. What is that? LPN, but I think they got a master's or some shit. Somebody's in the medical field. Stealing pills is what I heard. A white man. Somebody's gonna get caught up. All right. A great aunt's cousin is significant. High school. There's a whole bunch of shit going on. Libra is significant. Okay. All right. Working together. And sister-in-law and auntie. All right. So a sister-in-law, and an auntie could be working together. All right. Walmart. Nephew. Somebody nephew could work at Walmart. Somebody work at Walmart. Let's see here. These people were working together. All right, phone tap. These people were working together, but they didn't know their phone was tapped. Somebody was coaching somebody. All right, so somebody older, a great, somebody, a great aunt's cousin could have been coaching her, and she could have been coaching other people. All right, so it was a whole bunch of coaching going on. Somebody was definitely trying to get rid of you. All right, somebody is seeing things your way. All right, so whoever is tapping somebody's phone, I don't know who's tapping whose phone. All right, hidden pregnancy. Somebody's pregnancy is cloaked. Somebody's trying to find something out. 757 Virginia is significant. Candle magic. Somebody doing candle magic. A wild child. All right, a son is here. There's money coming in. Somebody feels broken. Somebody could feel broken for what they did. All right, set up. Yeah, somebody trying to set somebody up. It's not going good for somebody. Somebody's realizing that you are made of magic and there ain't shit they can do to stop anything that you got going on. Somebody's drinking heavy now. All right, somebody taking a chance and popping up on you. All right, so somebody was paid to unalive you. All right, book here. Somebody could be going to jail. All right, changing overnight. Somebody was paid to do something. All right, justice is here. Somebody went to jail. Somebody was caught. North is significant. All right, somebody filed some sort of false paperwork. All right, react, explain, and defend. Somebody is not reacting. Somebody's not explaining. Somebody found out the truth or something. All right, and somebody is getting some sort of justice. All right, I'm feeling like for somebody, everything is dying around them because they did something under the moon. All right, this could be somebody who drives a Mercedes or a Mercedes BMW black. Somebody passing away or somebody already died. Mercedes. Wawa's is significant. All right, a message coming in. A lot of people are jealous, and that's why God is getting ready to move you. Whatever this message is that's coming in, all right, it's going to make you want to move. All right, legal matters is here. All right, 1 week. Something could be happening in 1 week. All right, so somebody's looking for you to give you something. Somebody is looking. What's going on, China doll? All right, California is here. Downtown. All right, something is happening downtown big. All right, Sharice, you back? What's going on, y'all? Hold on, y'all. Let me get this one person out of here. What's going on, Grand Rising? All right, somebody California. Somebody give you something back out of the country. All right, you ready? You ready, Sharice? I got the good cards out right now. Okay, let's see what Spirit want to talk about. Let me. Okay, I'm recording it too. So 11:20. I'm gonna timestamp it. All right, so steady, not rushed. All right, things don't need chaos to survive. You said that song. Motherfuckers is show trying too. All right. There's something that's getting ready to happen, but you're getting ready to pick the peaceful path. All right. This has been coming out for a lot of people. All right. We are no longer wanting to be a part of chaos or anybody who brings chaos. All right. Let's see the peaceful option. The calmer path may be the wiser one. All right, the calmer path may be the wiser one. I just got notifications talking about vacation. That's been coming out a lot too. I heard pack your bag. All right, green flag here. It's safe to proceed. All right, so you could be going somewhere. Somebody could be asking you to go somewhere. All right, Spirit say it's safe to proceed. All right, discern. Don't absorb. All right, it's a lot going on around you. Remember, you have to be able to listen to people, but not carry, all right, their energy. All right, something that was not ready for you. All right, looks like it's getting ready to be ready because it's safe to proceed. But it says timing matters more than forces right now. So things happen exactly when they're supposed to. All right, let's see. All right, pause before action. All right, so things may seem slow or not as fast at times, and that's because Spirit wants you to take some sort of break right then. Me, I have a hard time with that because I be trying to find shit to do. I be trying to find ways to be ahead, but Spirit is asking you to take breaks. All right, don't overwork yourself. What are you ignoring? All right, trust often sits in what you keep brushing aside. All right, what are you ignoring? All right, is there something that you're ignoring? Something that you need to do? All right, manipulation, pressure, guilt, and urgency are not alignment. All right, so be careful of people trying to rush you to do certain things or trying to make it seem like everything is rush, rush, rush. All right, those to me, when people do that, that's confusion. They want to bring confusion into your energy. All right, inner knowing. First feeling. Your first instinct held the truth before fear got involved. All right, so it's something that you could have wanted to do, but then you let fear get involved or you let other people get in your head about something that you wanted to do. All right, Spirit is asking you to do that thing. All right, green flag, confirmation, earn trust. This is building in a real way. All right, I'm just feeling like you learning how to trust yourself. All right, more than trusting people because as long as you trust yourself, you ain't got to trust people. And I'm learning that shit. As long as you trust yourself and God, you ain't got to trust nobody. Because a motherfucker be quick to ask me, do you don't trust me? No. But I trust God not to put me around no fucked up shit to where it's gonna harm me when He knows I'm trying to walk in a righteous path. All right, divine timing, order. All right, divine order. There's a window that's opening. All right, what once felt blocked is now beginning to shift. Things are opening up for you, and I know you see it. All right, one by one, God is blessing you. All right, things are starting to trickle in. All right, income is increasing. All right, new vehicles, new home. All right, just new shit. All right, this is because you cut the cord. All right, releasing what keeps distorting your clarity. Whatever makes you feel some type of way, you let that shit the fuck go. All right, energy leak. Whatever drains you more than you give. All right, you let that shit the fuck go. You let it go, and it can't bother you. All right, you already know. Sometimes you be asking God to show you signs, and you be already be seeing the signs. All right, but sometimes you just, you may want confirmation. All right, but you're on the right path. Truth is silence. All right. What's real becomes obvious when the noise dies down. So if somebody could have always said, basically, if somebody always blamed you for something, and then you took yourself out of the equation, and they're still having that problems, well, the problem wasn't you. All right. Somebody is seeing that the problem was themselves and what the fuck they was allowing when it come to places and things, all right, or shit situations. Solid foundation. This has the structure to hold weight, all right. People are finding out that their structure was solid. Your structure is solid, and that's why you are still maintaining. All right, aligned choice. The path honors who you have become. All right, you have become someone unrecognizable to other people. All right, people are going to want you to stay and build with them. All right, but you are moving forward. All right, some things are worth tending to and not fleeing, but not all. All right, everything can't fucking go. All right, let's see. Closed door. Yeah. Rejection can be redirection and protection. All right, so something could have been, a door could have been closed. All right, simple as you get in the car. All right, and the reason why you couldn't get one before because people were doing car spells. All right, people were doing all types of shit, but then Spirit had to show you, even without the things that you wanted, I still made things happen for you, even if I used your enemy to do it type shit. All right, return to self. Come back to your center before choosing. All right, so it's some sort of choice that you're gonna have to make. All right, protection, boundaries, and power. Discernment is a gift. All right, so there's a choice that you're finna get ready to have to make. All right, and God is asking you to use your discernment. You are not going to pick wrong. All right, your ability to sense the truth is sacred. You're not gonna choose wrong. You're gonna pick exactly what you're needing to. All right. Right message, wrong time. All right. So you could have received a message about somebody, but it was just the wrong time. All right. Whatever the message was, maybe it's almost like when you go get a reading and Spirit tells you that you're going to be with a certain person, but then things don't happen, and then y'all aren't together, and then all of a sudden this person finds their way back to you and y'all are together. That's right message, wrong time type of energy. All right. Just wasn't time. Divine timing is everything. All right. So sometimes Spirit may bring you together with somebody. All right. So you can know who they are, get familiar with them. You know what I'm saying? Learn their ways, be around them, and then Spirit will take your presence away from that person. It's like Spirit will yank you from people. All right. And they see what happens when your energy is gone. All right. Delay in decision. You do not have enough clarity yet. All right. So something's getting ready to happen. All right. But you don't see it yet. Protection, boundaries, and power. Stand firm. Stop bending to keep things comfortable for other people. So speak your mind more. All right. Speak your mind more. Protect your energy. Not every space deserves your access. All right, so spirit is wanting you. Sometimes you can't hold that shit in. You gotta say what it is. All right, so people can stop doing their bullshit. All right, both paths hold a cost. Every decision asks for a sacrifice. So every decision that you make, all right, holds some sort of sacrifice. All right, so let's see. Your spirit knows. All right, you sense this before the proof. All right, so you are starting to see that you are knowing a lot of shit. You're starting to see that. You're starting to see, oh shit. Like, truth requires action. Once you know, you must hold yourself accountable, and of course, you must hold yourself, move accordingly. All right, so you start to see that you know what the fuck you be talking about. You know what you be thinking. All right, and now spirit is saying now that you are knowing for a fact this is what you're seeing. Now you got to move accordingly because you're going to be held responsible if you know somebody is doing you dirty and you're constantly fucking with them like you're not, like they're not. All right, that's what spirit don't want you to do. All right, you're not overlooking anything. You can't because you're the truth. All right, green flags, confirmation, energy, healthy timing. This opportunity meets you at the right season. So something that you thought wasn't for you is for you. All right. And when something feels off, trust your discomfort. All right, because you're going to meet a lot of people. All right, spirit is going to test your discernment. All right, but you're not gonna fail because you're gonna know you've dealt with these energies before. All right, a choice is asking you to define yourself. A choice is asking you to define yourself. All right, so it's almost like you got two paths, but you're gonna pick the path on what defines you, whatever you're trying to do within your purpose. All right, if it doesn't match your purpose, then you know it's not for you. All right, that's just like if you are you are say you used to drink heavy, da 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 da, whatever. Now you're trying to help people get through that. All right, and but you got somebody who want to date you, and that's all they do, and they don't want to do nothing else, and they ain't finna stop, and they telling you that they not gonna stop. Well, that's not part of your purpose because your purpose is to live a healthier, cleaner life. All right, and if they don't want to live a healthier, cleaner life, then you can't live that life together. All right, because it's gonna fuck up what you got going on. All right, and people who drink, them different types of spirits. So you gonna have to fight off your shit, they shit, and they gonna be too weak to fight off the shit that's attacking you. So it's like it's certain things that you know that you gotta look for when you're dealing with people. Period. Now, all right, because they will cause a divine delay in your life. All right, a pause, but it'll be protecting you, not punishing you, but you'll be forced to learn another motherfucking lesson. All right, so you see shit before it starts. All right, you know what's gonna happen. You see the red flags, you see the warnings. All right, you see the mixed signals. Confusion is often a message, not mystery. Anything that confuses you is a fuck no. All right, so moving forward, God is going to be seeing how your discernment work because of how your heart is. All right, so you're gonna have a lot of people that's gonna come your way, and they gonna be friendly, ha ha ha. All right, now spirit is going to want you to use your discernment to read these people because they're not gonna stay in your life. But spirit wants you to study the characteristics of these people. All right, once spirit see that you got this shit down pat when it comes to characteristics, you were like, nah, I'm only fucking with this person to a certain extent. I'm only like dealing with this person when I need to do this. All right, you're learning how to deal with people accordingly. All right, and that's what you got going on at this time, and that is your read. Ooh. And I'm going to go ahead and end the live over here on YouTube, and that way I can do it to you.